Weekends are when I spend a little bit more time in the kitchen and get creative. And this weekend, I wanted to make KaleJunkie's viral chicken shawarma crispy rice salad. With summer right around the corner, I had been craving a mango milkshake. And we also had a potluck at church the next day, so I made a batch of these delicious chocolate chip cookies. So if you want to see how I made these 3 recipes, follow along with me. All right, I'm on my way to the kitchen right now.
Look at this elephant.
All right, to get started, I measured 2 cups of long grain white rice into a bowl and rinsed it twice. And then I added the rinsed rice into my Instapot and added 2.5 cups of chicken stock. I did a little bit of water at the end, so it was 2 cups of chicken stock and half a cup of water. Then I set that for 7 minutes in the Instapot and got to work on the other items. Since I have such a small kitchen and I was doing a lot of cooking, I like to keep up with my dishes. And so in between, if I have a little bit of time, I'll go and I'll wash some of the dishes by hand. My son loves to join me at the sink and rinse, so he was here with me. He gets his little containers and fills them with water and rinses while I clean. It's a great way to keep him busy and keep him engaged. Her recipe called for 5 Persian cucumbers. I did not know where to get Persian cucumbers, so I just used regular, and I only had 3, which turned out to be just fine. Cherry tomatoes, and look how giant this red onion is. So I started by rinsing those in baking soda water to get them clean, and I added the tomatoes, the cucumbers, and let them sit for about 10 minutes while I chopped the onion. As you can see, I am not a pro at chopping, but I have found this to be the easiest way to chop onions. I don't know if you've seen this before or if you do this yourself, but this is still not perfect, but it's the easiest way to get and keep all of the onion together while you are chopping it. So this is the way I chop my onions. It ended up being way more onion than I needed, so I took half of it and then put the other half in a little baggie to use for later. On to the pickles. I went ahead and just bought dill chips. That way I didn't have to do as much chopping, so I just measured them out about how much I thought was the right amount, and then I chopped them into smaller pieces. Next, it was time to peel the cucumbers, so I quickly did that, and then it's moments like these that I really wish I had a compost. I will be starting that soon so I can use all these lovely scraps and, not waste them. So she calls for slicing the cucumber, but I went ahead and chopped it just because that's what I wanted to do. So went through and chopped all of the cucumbers and added them to a bowl. After that, I went and halved the cherry tomatoes. If they were slightly larger, I quartered them, but you can kind of just, make them the size that you want them to be. Okay, the rice was done, so I took it out of the Instapot and measured out 2 cups onto the baking sheet. It was still pretty hot and sticky, so you'll see here that it took, it takes a little while to get it flattened out. It was wanting to stick to the spatula, but that's okay. Just, flatten it out as best as you can. And then added the olive oil, paprika, oregano, and garlic powder. I went ahead and added a little bit more rice because it didn't seem like it was going to be enough. So I just put another scoop in and blended it in. Put that in the oven for 30 minutes at 400 degrees. Once again, I had acquired many more dishes during this time, so I took some time to clean some of them so that there was more space at the sink and in the kitchen. Of course, when you're a mom of little kids, there are lots of interruptions, lots of breaks that need to be taken. My daughter woke up from her nap, so she needed to be changed, fed, and then she joined me in the kitchen. Okay, I forgot that I didn't have lemons because I used them earlier for blueberry jam. So my husband is running to the store real quick to get us lemons so we can make the lemon tahini dressing. So in the meantime, I'm going to do the meat. Also, if you can hear, this is why I have to do a voiceover for most of my videos because a lot of little kids and the house is very loud. most of the time, which I love and I'm fine with, but makes it harder to record videos. So that's why. Okay, back to the voiceover. So getting started with the chicken, I just took it out of the package and added it here to this baking dish. I had a little bit more chicken than what she called for, but I went ahead and just used it all so I could use up the whole package. Added some olive oil and then the spices that she called for. I combined them together in this dish here. So it was the turmeric first, followed by the cumin, and then cinnamon. I measured out in my hand and then added it after that. Garlic powder and pepper. Stirred that all together and then poured half of it on one side of the chicken, flipped the chicken over, and then put the other half on the other side. To be honest, I feel like it was a little bit too heavy on spices when it was all said and done. So next time I'll probably do a little bit less of the spice mix. So I forgot how long these have been in here, but I want to say, like, I'm kind of just going based off of looks, and this looks pretty crispy, and it looks like if I cook it for too much longer, it'll be too overdone. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out, because that seems like about the crispiness level that I would want in it. So these are done. Yeah, seems like it's the crispy level that I want it to be. So crispy rice is done. Now just got to cook the chicken and make the dressing. I personally love using cast iron for cooking meat, and I'll show you why. It is amazing for like being able to scrape off the bottom of it and get all that flavor from the little bits on bottom. So delicious. So I don't use my cast iron for everything. Like I don't like the way it cooks eggs and other particular things, but for a lot of things, for most things, especially meat, I use my cast iron. Normally I keep my cast iron seasoned with a little bit of oil. I didn't this time, so I just heated it up and then added the oil to it afterwards. So part of the perks of being the chef is that you get to try the food while you're making it. So I'm trying a little bit of the crispy rice, see how it turned out. And I definitely took it out at the right time. I could probably have even taken it out a little bit earlier, but it does have a nice flavor. I like the spice mix that she used on it. Once my pan had heated up, I went ahead and added all the chicken to it. I cooked it on one side probably for about 5 to 7 minutes on medium-high heat. And then once it looked like it was about ready to be flipped, I flipped it over and cooked it on the other side for about the same amount of time. While the chicken finished cooking, I went ahead and quickly did a batch of chocolate chip cookies. That way they could be ready to bake by the time we were done eating. I get my chocolate chip cookie recipe from joyfoodsunshine.com. And you guys, it is seriously the best recipe for chocolate chip cookies. I will link it in the description below. I love vanilla extract so much in baking recipes, so I pour it and don't really measure precisely because if a little bit more goes in, I am totally okay with it. Vanilla is so delicious in baking recipes. Here I'm putting together all the dry ingredients and then I'm going to add them to the mixer. Just one quick tip, you probably already know this, but I'll tell you anyways. Always add your flour mixture just a little bit at a time. I have made the mistake of putting too much in at once and the flour goes everywhere when I started. So keep it on low and just add a little bit at a time when you have a stand mixer. Nothing like homemade cookie dough. I love it. Don't mind my dirty dishes in the background. All right, I need to take care of the chicken and make the dressing now. So we're gonna let this go in the refrigerator for a little while. Oven's preheated, it's ready to go. I just need to cook them. So I'm gonna put them in the refrigerator while I finish the chicken and get dinner ready. Okay, the chicken was finished cooking, so what I do is I take it out and put it on a cutting board and I chop it or slice it into pieces, and then when I'm done slicing, I'll add it back in so I can get all the little bits at the bottom of the cast iron skillet. Okay, here's the best part. See all of those little bits in there? We're gonna add the chicken back in and scrape the pan to get all those little bits in. And that is why I love using cast iron. Maybe even add a teeny bit of chicken broth, just a teeny bit. I thought I recorded a video of me making the tahini dressing, but apparently I did not hit record. So unfortunately, I don't have a video of that, but it was pretty simple to make. I just put it in my little NutriBullet blender and blended it all together. So now I'm assembling the bowls, starting with the cucumber, adding tomatoes. I definitely could have used more tomatoes. So next time I will probably do just a little bit more. On the contrary, my husband doesn't really like onions, and I knew my boys wouldn't eat onions, so I actually could have done way less onions. Pickles, definitely could have done more pickles. It added so much flavor to the recipe. We had enough, but I think we could have used even more dill pickles. Onto the chicken. It was the right amount of chicken for all of us. My boys, I kind of knew that they wouldn't eat a whole lot of it, so most of the chicken went to me and to my husband, and just a little bit to our boys and to my baby girl who's just learning to eat. She actually did pretty well with the spices on this. It was pretty spicy, meaning not hot spicy, but, a lot of spices added, but she did pretty well with eating it. Now we're adding the crispy rice on top. I feel like that was also the right amount. I'm glad that I put another scoop of rice in it because I feel like it was the right amount for all of us. And then finished with the tahini dressing. It was definitely thicker, so it took a while to kind of get it scooped out on top. So I went ahead and just fast forwarded through this so it wouldn't take too long showing you adding the tahini dressing on top. Just for decoration's sake, I put a little bit more cucumbers and tomatoes on the side. This is my husband's bowl. And then I did the same thing with my bowl just to make it look prettier, nice presentation. A little bit of onion sprinkled on top too for me. And that was it. So I had never tried this before, so this was my first time trying. And first bite, I was excited to see how it turned out. Okay, moment of truth. Here we go. Wow. That is really good. Thumbs up. All right after dinner, I got to work on the cookies. The oven had already been preheated and the cookie dough had been in the fridge, so I took it out. And the only thing I'll say that I found with making cookies, particularly this recipe, is keep it in nicely formed balls. Don't flatten it at all, because if you keep it kind of more rounded like that, it'll be nice and gooey when you take it out. Now, I unfortunately, because I just had so much going on in the kitchen, I left these in there longer than I really wanted to, and they got a little bit more browned on bottom than I would have liked. Normally, I like them not quite so dark. So they were still good, but I definitely should have taken them out about a minute or two before that. But this definitely is the best chocolate chip cookie recipe that I've found. So give it a try and tell me what you think. Okay, the last recipe of the night was the mango milkshake. So I started by making homemade whipped cream. Just add it to the stand mixer, get it started. It takes maybe 5 to 7 minutes. Just beat it until it turns into a whipped consistency. Add some vanilla extract, and I added about 2 heaping tablespoons of powdered sugar. Let it blend a little bit longer and it'll create that nice fluffy consistency. And there you have it, homemade whipped cream. It's so much better than the store-bought whipped cream. I'm using mostly frozen mango chunks for this, but I thought I would do one fresh mango as well, just add a little bit of fresh mango to it, because fresh is always great, but primarily we'll be using frozen mangoes for it. I'm kind of guesstimating for this. I didn't really have a recipe to follow, so I'm gonna kind of adjust, and I'll share my final measurements. Like I'll come up with a recipe card or something to share my final measurements when I'm done at the end. All right, so to make this mango milkshake, I started by just slicing the fresh mango into the blender, and then I scooped out basically what I thought was the right amount of ice cream. I wanted it to be a thicker milkshake and not super runny, so I ended up putting probably more ice cream than I needed to. In hindsight, I could probably have used like half or maybe 3/4 of that. But then I added a little milk and put the frozen mango chunks inside and started blending that together. And I would just stop periodically and taste it to see if I liked how much mango was in there. It ended up being too full. I wanted more mango flavor, but the blender was too full. So what I did was I just gave my boys their portion. I knew that they would be okay with the amount of mango flavor. And then that created more space in the blender, and I added plenty more mango chunks in there for mine and my husband's milkshake, and it turned out perfectly, adding in those extra mango chunks. I finished by topping it with the homemade whipped cream and just a few chocolate sprinkles. Okay, here we go. Taste test.
And you open up the gate and saw the people were biting.
Perfect amount of mango. Definitely needed more, but once I added that more mango in, it's the perfect amount of like ice cream, milk, and mango flavor. So, All right, that was it for my weekend cooking and baking. It was a lot of fun to make all of these, and I was really happy with how each recipe turned out. Thanks for following along with me. Let me know if you try any of these recipes, and stay tuned for more cooking videos.